The Ministry of General Education has announced cross-cutting measures aimed at reforming the sector and making education for all a reality. The measures include reduction in school fees, reorganization of the examinations, teacher recruitment, and career progression. Although these measures have been welcomed as progressive, questions are being raised as to whether there is enough will and resources to see through these reforms. My guest this evening is Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of General Education, Dr. Jobbicks Kalumba. And I'm your host, Grevaza Zulu. Doc, welcome to the program.
Thank you, and how are you?
And welcome to Lusaka.
Yes, I've come now to the city.
New appointment, I know you've risen through the ranks.
Yes,
you've worked as headmaster, of course as a teacher, headmaster, District Education Board Secretary, DEBS, and later Provincial Education Officer before becoming Permanent Secretary, Muchinga, Permanent Secretary, Northern Province, and finally Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education. Briefly, who is Dr. Jobbicks Kalumba?
Yes, Kalumba Jobbicks was born in the year, very important year for me, 1964, 24th October 1964.
You're an independence baby.
Very much, I'm a good freedom fighter as well. So, yes, I did my primary education in the northern part of Zambia, in Mbala in particular. Went to Luwingu Secondary School where I completed my Form 5. Nowadays it is grade 12. That was 1985. Then I went to Malcolm Moffat Teachers College to train as a primary school teacher. Then later on, 1994, I went to ZAMISE, the Zambia Institute of Special Education, to go and train as a special education teacher. And from there, then I went to Nkrumah College of Education to train as a secondary school teacher. Thereafter, I was appointed as the head of a basic school in Mporokoso district. Then I went to the University of Zambia to pursue my first degree in special education. From the University of Zambia, that's when I was appointed as an education officer in charge of teacher education at the Provincial Education Office in Northern Province. 5 years down the line, I was promoted as District Education Board Secretary from Pulungu. Then I was transferred to Mpika District, where I also served as the DC.
District Commissioner.
Oh yes, yeah. In those years, they appointed some senior civil servants to manage the districts, and I was one of those. But it was short-lived. Then I was taken back to education, and I was very happy. But I knew, God allows you to move in certain position for the purpose. Then when Muchinga province was declared in 2011, as Zambia's 10th province, I was appointed as the first provincial education officer for Muchinga province. And then we worked thereafter, Northern Province on transfer. That's where His Excellency the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Edgar Chagalungu, retired me in national interest for the purpose of now serving the nation in a different capacity. And
as Permanent Secretary,
and
overseeing the province. That's probably a very good experience you have now. And eventually now, you're Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education.
Correct.
What is your vision? I know you have a lot of experience. And you have both ends. You're a new broom, because new Permanent Secretary in the ministry, worked most of your life in the rural area. And of course, with this deeper experience coming with so many years of service, what is your vision? Where do you want to see the Ministry of Education?
Very good. I would like to see the Ministry of Education delivering to the needs of a child in the classroom. I would like to see a Ministry of Education that is going to prioritize learner performance as cardinal in its endeavors. A child in the classroom must learn, and a teacher in the classroom must deliver. Professor, a school is made up of 3 elements: the teacher, the child, and the community. These 3 elements make what we call a school. And my vision, and the vision of the ministry, does not depart from satisfying the needs of these 3 elements. So I would like the teachers to be motivated so that this teacher can adequately attend to the needs of a child. Would like the learner to receive quality education, affordable education, so that at the end of the day, this child will be like me and even better than me. Would like the community to participate in the education of their children, because the parents play an important role in ensuring that education is delivered to the expectations of the nation. I may not define my vision in one statement, but I can summarize it in these 3 areas that make up what a school is.
You've got a huge task to perform, because for now it looks public education is on its deathbed, for lack of a better word. Everybody's rushing to mission schools, rushing to private schools. What happened? I know that not too long ago, during your time, I'm sure you would attest, public schools were the best. People moved from private schools to public schools. Now people are running away from public schools into private schools. What happened?
Very good. You see, you are very right. I'm a product of a government institution. And in those days, when you see someone going to a private school or a mission school, we were questioning their intelligence.
It means they either had been expelled from public school.
Correct. Yeah. But now, I want to be very, very frank. You know, teaching is a calling. Teaching is not like any other profession. You must be driven by the passion to put a smile on somebody's face. You must be motivated to see that someone is progressing, and that should drive your satisfaction to put in the best in the service. Yes, there can be challenges down the line, but what makes men and women join the teaching profession? It is the desire. It is the joy to see that Mary, Gertrude, Peter in the classroom is progressing. That is the desire which motivates some of us to enter the profession. But today, a good number of my cadres, some of them, not all, some of them, you know, they chose teaching as the last option, because they couldn't go for nursing, they couldn't go for any other profession, but teaching became the last option. And these are the men and women who have compromised standards in our schools.
And you have to correct that.
It is us as a system. And now, since they say if you can't win them, then do what? Join them. As long as these men and women have joined the Ministry of General Education, whose mandate is to transform the lives of the children, whose mandate is to create an enabling environment in which learning should take place, these men and women must respond to the call of the ministry. We are on top of things, and that's why we've been moving from one place to another, helping the teachers to begin appreciating the value that is in this profession. And I know within this year and in the years to come, our men and women are going to begin doing that which is good. Of course, it is not in our power. If we allow God of heaven to intervene in the affairs of these men and women, you begin seeing miracles. And I'm very, very confident things will change.
Now, let's move to the measures that you've announced as a ministry. In the last 1 week, you've been very active and very busy, making very important decisions and important announcements. One of them concerns payment of user fees and fees, school fees and PTF funds.
Correct.
I want you to explain exactly. There's a lot of debate and discussion, but I want you to run us through the fees.
Good. Zulu, let me use this platform. The Minister of General Education made the statement in Parliament. Now the time has come for us now to clarify now to the people, so that people begin understanding what the minister meant. Okay, right. Let me go first of all to one aspect. Education is the hope for this country. Education is a common good. We are here today, you and myself and others, because we went through education. And so, if education is killed, or if education is very expensive, we don't have an assurance of a better Zambia tomorrow. So, as a responsible government, we must look at means of making sure that education becomes affordable. We have instruments that we have signed as Zambia, that education for all. Education for all, not only for the people living in Ibex, not only for the people living in those beautiful mansions. It's education for all. Gravens, when you say education for all, are we saying only the people in Woodlands, in Ibex, in Lusaka, Urban? It is meant for everyone in Nawalia, in Chiwombo, so that at one time in Shangombo, that child from that rural area will be the president of this country, will be the PS, will be the minister. That's the meaning of education for all. Now,
that is what is driving
yes, all these years. So now, we have now looked at one aspect. Education has become unaffordable. Some of our children, some of our parents are unable to send the children to school, and yet those children are the hope for tomorrow in that particular home where somebody is living in a glass-thatched house. If a child is provided with an affordable education, we are sure of transforming the lives of many people.
You speak so well, PS, but
yes.
this is probably nothing but a populist decision.
Oh no, it's not populist decision.
To win sympathy from the public, because already public schools are in a very deplorable state. And you've gone further to reduce
very good
the fees that are supposed to sustain these schools.
Very good.
What kind of education do you want to provide?
I am happy. I'm happy to be one of those who has moved in the Ministry of Education as head teacher, as I indicated, as DEBS, as PO, as EOTED. We are speaking from experience. We know what is happening on the ground, and Hoya Mawumba is equally a teacher like me. Gravenza Zulu, are you aware that many children are unable to go to grade 10 or to grade 8 just because the school has high fees and the child cannot access a particular form of education? What we have done is this, my dear. Every child who is in a remote area, as long as there's a day secondary school there in a remote area, they will be paying 150 kwacha as part of their contribution towards education. And the parents who cannot afford cash, we have allowed the idea, the principle of paying in kind. If they have a cow, if they have goats, if they have chickens, if they have beans, if they have millet, if they have rice, come on, let's take this to the school.
But is this well thought out, PS?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's a clear system. It has worked. Pure disorganization. I'll take a goat, another person will take a bag of maize, another person will take a cow, another person will take a bag of beans.
Very good.
Storage,
very good.
Been thought out. Market for the schools. The schools now have to become dealers in all these agro products. And what you're promoting now is basically corruption. And who knows where these things go? If you bring a goat, it will end up in a pot for teachers and probably the headmaster.
I don't agree with you. Do you know why some people wouldn't like to go that direction? Because a cow cannot be manipulated easily. You can manipulate cash, but you can't manipulate a cow. When it comes into the school, someone will say, we saw a cow coming into the school. Where has it gone?
But a cow can die, isn't it?
It's okay, even human beings can die. But now, here we are talking about some of the people in the village, they don't have cash. Money is not this coin and paper.
But you have this, are you picturing PS where you're seated, the disorganization in a particular school where everyone is walking in with what they have?
Who is saying everyone?
I have got beans.
Yes.
And okay,
yes.
I've got a goat.
Yes.
Yes. I've got 10 chickens.
Yes.
Yes. I've got guinea fowls. Yes. I can also take one cow. And where are the storage facilities?
Have you been in a boarding school?
Where are the storage facilities?
In a boarding school, you have storage facilities. If breakfast, you use sample, you use rice, come on, what is the problem? Where is the problem for a school to accept a bag of rice, which at a later stage will go into the consumption during breakfast?
What happens to a day school?
Very good, there's no problem. This rice can be sold. The goat can be sold. The chicken can be sold. And this is going to be translated into money. We are not turning schools into a market. But we know we have two categories of people in a particular school. We have the rich and the poor. And the poor, if they have a cow, let them take to the school. And the school will be able to get it and translate it into money. That is a normal practice. There's nothing strange about it. That is paying in kind. And others are going to pay in installments. If the cost is 200 kwacha and you don't have 200 kwacha at hand, but you have a 50 kwacha or 100 kwacha, you must be allowed to pay in installments and then enter into an agreement with the school that on such a date I will be able to provide the balance. We are doing all this in order to make education affordable. Education must not only be offered to the rich, to the people who have a regular income. Let education be offered to the people as well who don't have a regular income.
P.S., we've been this route before, down this route before.
Yeah.
Where you're taking the nation is probably back to UNIP days, where everyone accesses education, but what type of education are we talking about? Towards the end of UNIP, you will know that schools were dilapidated, hospitals were falling apart, and government had to come up with user fees and various ways of asking the community and members of society to contribute.
Yes, and who has cut the user fees? No one has stopped the user fees. No one has said we won't contribute. We are going to contribute. But the level at which we contribute is what we have regulated as government. By the way, let me go back to UNIP. You remember that many of the people today who are in higher positions of responsibility went through that system because Kaunda provided free education. And that's why this country is standing.
But towards the latter part of UNIP, well, did a good job.
Yeah, did a good job.
But towards the latter part, the society could not sustain the burden of providing free education.
No. People could have managed, but the human nature contributed to that. And that's why, times are changing. We allowed a system of partnering with our parents so that they can also feel that they are part of the development agenda. So the parents started contributing towards the education of their people. Even in UNIP days, people are contributing in kind. You remember the University of Zambia where you and I went. Do you know how it was constructed? People were contributing chickens. People were contributing cow. Anything that somebody had, it led to the development of this University of Zambia. So why can't we go back today to those old practices if they are going to prove to be worthy, to be helping in the system?
How much consultation have you done before coming up with this measure where you've drastically, for some schools, reduced the fees?
Where are the people getting the consultations from those who are charging 6,000 kwacha in a secondary school? We collected a number of samples, acceptance letters from the rural setup for grade 8 and grade 10. Then we collected acceptance letters for grade 8 and grade 10 in the urban setup. And we had to compare. If I can give you the picture, Zulu, you wouldn't like it. Would you imagine that here is a secondary school which is newly constructed and handed over 3 years ago, but a school, the PTA, they meet and come up with figures like, we are going to charge 6,000 kwacha in a secondary school. Here's an example, my dear. When Kapiri Day Secondary School or Kapiri Boarding, for example, was constructed, it was not constructed for the people from Lusaka, for the rich, for the well-to-do. That school was constructed so that the poor child in Kapiri could have access to quality education. But today, many of our good schools in the country are only accessed by the children from the upper Mwambas. And that is not the desire of this government. This government is a pro-poor government which must give chances to each and every child in the system to receive education. Why should we only allow the upper Mwambas to access quality education? We cannot manage the system like that.
Pro-poor, yes, but where's your part of the role as government?
Very good. We have played...
Because basically these schools have been running themselves. Some of them you give them a grant as low as 1,000 kwacha per month, 3,000 per term. That's too little to sustain us.
No. I don't agree with you. Here is a good example. A school, for example, here in Lusaka, I just want to give an example. A school has a total number of 2,000 children, and that is true. 2,000 children. And then in a term, a child we are saying is going to pay 200 kwacha. Then 200 kwacha multiplied by 2,000 children, how much money is there? The amount of money that you are going to collect as a school can do well in ensuring that you pay for electricity bills, can do well to pay for water bills. You can buy chalk, you can buy books for the teachers. If you work within your means, it is possible to sustain a school. While I appreciate that we don't send monthly grants to the school, but from the little collection that the school will have collected, and if it is put into good use, the school can run without challenges.
They'll be able to pay their guards, they'll be able to pay the general workers, they'll be able to pay even teachers in some instances.
No, in terms of teachers, government has provided enough number of teachers to help run the process.
Have you done an assessment, PS, to check how many schools and how many teachers are on a payroll for the PTA?
Come on, when you talk
right here in Lusaka, you do a survey, PS, you'll find
there is
schools who have a shortfall.
There is no need for teachers in Lusaka to be on PTA. There shouldn't be any
You have
need.
schools that have.
That is wrong. That is wrong, because if we go by statistics, a lot of teachers are in Lusaka and the Copper Belt. And if you look at the total number of periods that they cover in a day, it is a sad story. There are some, in some schools we have even floating teachers. Why do we have floating teachers? It simply means we have more than necessary.
What does it say about the administration at ministry?
Yeah, we are now taking some corrective measures. And you see, I have a privilege in the sense that I served in the provinces where we witnessed massive exodus of teachers on transfers from rural areas to urban areas, leaving schools in the rural areas yawning. And so we have taken some corrective measures. To this effect, we have asked the provincial education officers to be in charge of transferring the teachers. For example, if a teacher would like to come to Lusaka from Buchinga province, from Northwestern province, the Ministry of General Education shouldn't have any responsibility in determining where the teacher should go. It's the PO Northern Province, the PO Northwestern Province who should collaborate with the PO in Lusaka Province. My friend, this teacher wants to come to your province. Do you have a vacancy for this teacher? If PO Lusaka says, yes, there's a vacancy, then the PO Northwestern Province will issue a letter of transfer to this teacher to come to Lusaka. And we know the moment the teacher comes here, he or she will be placed on the payroll. The teacher is coming into the system where the vacancy is available, unlike what has been happening in the past.
Before we move to the transfers, I want you to clearly address this issue of the fees. I know grant-aided schools, you've let them alone, and these are the schools where the upper Mwambas are going. By
the way, I didn't conclude on the, we are saying in the day secondary schools in the rural areas is 150, and those who can't afford, they can pay in kind. Well and good, beautiful. And then in the urban areas like Lusaka, Livala, for example, it is 200 kwacha. That is user fee, where you are going to, if you want to buy pens, stationery, and the rest, it must be gotten from that 200 kwacha. Because if there are 2,000 children, you manage to procure all what you need. Now, if it is a boarding school, it is 1,000 kwacha per child. Boarders, that is money for feeding, buying of rice, buying of cooking oil, salt, and the rest. So in total, at Kasama Girls, for example, or any boarding school, a child will go with a total amount of 1,200. I want to make it correct. 1,200. The 1,000 kwacha will go towards boarding, will go towards feeding, while a 200 kwacha will go towards the procurement of the stationery and the rest, which is okay. But even in this 1,200, if a parent has 600 kwacha, we should allow them to pay in installment and then make an agreement with the school that next month I'll be able to pay. And we want to ask our parents to be very committed to this arrangement so that the schools don't run at a loss. When you commit yourself as a parent, you must fulfill that so that the headmaster won't be compelled to send a child away from school.
Have you been able to do an assessment of the diet for the pupils in boarding schools?
Very
it's
much.
already bad. And now that you're trying to reduce the fees.
Let me tell you one thing. I want to give a very vivid example, having been in this sector for some time. Government schools offer a very good diet.
Of beans, cabbage, and
Don't worry. You can't feed a child only on beef, you know, eggs, even in our homes. We don't feed only on meat, whatever you every day. No. There are times when you feed on vegetables. There are times when you feed on beans. There are times when you feed on carpenter. It is a home. A boarding school is a home. And I can assure you, our head teachers down there, they are doing a lot of work to ensure that our children are well fed. No child is starving. By the way, there are some schools who are charging as less as 900 kwacha boarding fee in the country. And those children are surviving. For example, I'm going to Mpika Boys, my dear, secondary school versus Rutikila Girls, which is a mission school. If you compare the diet between Mpika Boys and Rutikila, there's a big disparity. But Rutikila Girls charges high. But this is a government school with a minimum amount. But our children never complain of the diet. The schools are doing the best.
Maybe you never get to hear the complaints, but of course...
No, there are no complaints as of now. We know what we are doing. We know
you have cut these fees for some schools by more than half. Some used to charge 500, now it's 200.
Correct.
Others used to charge 600, now it's 200. Others 850, now it's 200. This is a drastic reduction.
No, how can you charge 800 kwacha to a day secondary school? What for?
This is drastic.
It is within the range that a school can survive.
By implication, you're saying this money was being abused.
I don't want to implicate my friends. All what I want to say is the amount of money that we are now charging is affordable and it can sustain the school without any challenges.
But you need to say it as it is. I mean, if people paid 600 and schools poorly run, poor infrastructure, suffering, struggling to meet needs, now it's 200 and you are sure they'll sustain.
No, look here, Gravaza. If you look at the minister's statement, we are not saying this is an end in itself. If a school has a project, okay, they want to build a 1x3 classroom block for the sake of extending on the infrastructure. We have given a provision that should there be need for an increment because of ABC, that school, the PTA, should now write to us through the provincial education officer that we have this project, and because of this project, we would like to raise the fee to this level. There must be a justification. If there's a justification, we'll agree. What we don't want is exorbitant fees where our people won't access education just because we want to increase the fees, even when there's no need. When there's need, we'll accept. When there's no need, we won't accept.
I want to ask you this question. You're happy with the state of the schools currently?
At the moment.
When you walk around the country.
Yes.
And you go to rural areas, you're happy with the state?
In which conditions? Is it infrastructure?
Infrastructure.
Or staffing levels?
Infrastructure.
Very
Staffing,
good.
I know you're probably doing very well.
Yes, you see, the Ministry of Education has 10,000 schools.
You are happy with the state of schools?
I am happy with some.
In terms of rating, you would rate it 50%, 60%?
No, there are some which are at 90%. And others are at,
when you look at the general picture, I mean, most government schools are not even appealing to. They don't have good learning environment.
No. Now,
in rural areas.
In rural areas. Okay.
PSU know that.
No. Listen, I don't want to create an impression that everything is bad in the system. I agree with you. Some schools are dilapidated. Okay?
No laboratories.
Laboratories.
No sports infrastructure.
No. Let me be very, very realistic here.
Desks are dilapidated.
No, listen. Now you are now giving me a very good observation here. Why should we have a school dilapidated when the schools are charging so much? Where are they taking the money? Why can that money be used to improve on the infrastructure in the schools?
I did ask you that question,
Yes.
P.S., that you probably have been sleeping as a ministry because maybe the money has been abused.
It hasn't been-
How can you justify that you reduce the funding or the fees by more than 50% and you expect the schools to survive?
The schools...
And they're already struggling to survive.
No.
What does that mean?
They are not struggling to survive. The schools are going to survive within the means that we have provided. From our experience and from our observations, what we have provided as government will make the school
Are you
survive.
aware that besides these fees that we're talking about, parents take to these schools slashers, reams of paper?
This is the practice.
Cobra.
This is the practice that we want to put to an end. For example, this year you demand for slashers, you demand for hoys, and even next year you are going to demand for the hoys and slashers. This practice must be revisited.
But you're not being realistic, P.S. You know that slashers, hoes, and reams of paper have no legs, and cows have legs. But then you argued that cows will not walk. But reams of paper have been walking. And
No, the reams of paper don't work. They are put to good use. But in
And the
terms
hoes,
of,
the
but in
slashers,
terms of hoes,
which come in every year
it
and-
could be due to poor management. And so, if we reduce on the fees, people are going to be responsible to take care of what will have come into their custody. That is also cultivating responsibility in the management of the
is there a
schools.
ban on the request for these things that parents always have to endure almost every year?
We
Almost every
have
school.
we have
You have to
provided
take reams of paper.
We
you have
have
to take cobra. you have
we
to
have provided in that circular that schools must not demand for cobra, schools must not demand for reams of paper, schools must not demand for hoys. All what they want to buy will be bought from the user fees that have been provided. Should there be need to increase, we are going to revisit the practice.
I'm not hearing much on your side as government.
Yeah.
What have you done? Are you increasing the grant?
In terms of allocation to the schools?
Yes.
We have a standard grant that we give every year. And we know from the amount of money that we provide to the schools, you know, in addition to what the schools are collecting from the children, the schools can manage in the affairs of the day-to-day discharge of the responsibilities. Yeah, we provide as government. It may not be regular, but at least something goes towards improving the schools.
By this decision, it means the PTA fund also goes down. And I did ask that in a number of schools, general workers are employed using this money.
Yes. What do you mean by PTA?
Guards, Parent Teachers Association?
Yes, the Parent Teachers Association, we have put a clause there that should there be need for an increment, let us know as a ministry, and then we're going to make a decision. Or what we are avoiding is an haphazard way of charging the school.
There's already a
to the
need.
school.
You know that schools are employing guards using this. You don't pay the guards for this.
Yes, we know. We don't pay the guards. There are two sets of guards in the school. There are some guards that are on the payroll of government. Now, in case of a guard who is not on the payroll of government, how would you handle that? You are going to handle it from the user fees.
Is that enough?
It is. It is.
What should the schools cut down on? I mean, if you're saying it is, there must be somewhere where this money used to go, spent on.
No. I don't want to implicate my friends. But we can.
It's not implicating.
We can cut.
You did a survey to know how much money they need to survive, and you forgot to do a survey on where this money is going.
No, we carried out a survey in order for us to make this decision.
Not a survey in order to know where the money is going.
Now listen, in a school, there are so many requirements. But even if certain requirements are necessary, we can reduce on the frequency. We should reduce on the number of meetings that we hold as a means of education. These consume a lot of money on the part of the schools. We have to limit on certain workshops. We have to limit on certain forms of travels so that whatever we are collecting from the school must be put to good use in order to sustain learning and teaching. This, I don't imply that our friends are misusing the money.
Do you send auditors to these schools to check on how the funds are used?
And I know you have been hearing of the Minister of General Education appearing before the Parliamentary Audit Committee. Okay, so sometimes we can reduce on those audit queries if we also reduce on the amount of money that is coming into the schools. Yeah. We can.
Do you send auditors to the schools?
We
do. You have plans?
No, not only plans. Every year, the Office of the Auditors General audits
the schools.
The schools. And the picture sometimes is not impressive.
And you've tolerated it?
We can't tolerate it. Sanctions have been imposed on erring officers. We've done that.
Let's look at teacher transfer, teacher recruitment, and transfer from rural areas into urban areas has been mad with, for lack of a better word, unfairness, maybe injustice.
But before you go to that, I'm reminded of one thing which we didn't touch. We have also reduced on examination fees, especially to the grade 9 externals, which is good. I don't know if you're going to condemn this as well, because a child at grade 9 level, okay, was asked to pay 70 kwacha entry fee. But as a listening government who understands the needs of our people in the community and how important an examination is, we have reduced from 70 kwacha to 15 kwacha entry fee. And then per subject, it was 75 kwacha. We have reduced from 75 kwacha to 25 kwacha per subject. And we have carried out a research with the Exam Council of Zambia together. It is affordable. Why have we done this as government? We would like our children to access education. Because if you can block children from writing examination on account that they've got no money, then Gravaza, we are killing this nation. And as a responsible government, we can't allow that to go. So the
reaction to this probably is not much of condemnation, but much of shock that you allowed this road to go on. How did we reach 70 kwacha? Where was the ministry? And you speak like these decisions were made by a foreign country and imposed on your ministry. And you were sitting in those offices as leaders and allowed this decision to go on.
You see,
there was no system. There's been no system. There's probably no system.
No. The system.
The only system is the minister issuing the statement.
No. The system has been there. You see,
so how did we allow this?
At each and every time, you must make a decision. Failure to make a decision is failure to take action. When things are moving in the way that they are not supposed to move, as responsible men and women, you must sit down and say, where are we going? Why can't we reverse this practice? Even in the home, some children will misbehave. But as a parent, you won't keep quiet. You take certain measures to correct the situation in the home. It does not mean that you as a parent has been irresponsible. No. It's just certain things will happen in that direction due to compelling demands, but time must come when you must reconcile both ends. That, friends, if we did this, where would we go? By the way, that's why you should have analytical minds in the ministries. Look at the situation and see how it is helping the system, and if it is not helping the system, you must take corrective measures. That's what we call leadership in the system. Yeah, it must be done. It must be done in the best interest of the people that you are serving. Leadership must prevail.
Let's look at other reforms that you've done. I know you've touched examinations.
Other reforms, we have now what we are referring to as specialization at primary school level. Gravazia, here can even now rest a bit. You see, it has a place in history. When you are training as a primary school teacher, you are trained in all the 9 subjects or 8 subjects. One teacher. In 1964, 65, 70, 80, the reason was we didn't have enough teachers in the sector. So government thought of training one teacher in all the subjects. So that when I go to a particular school, then I'm able to teach in all the subjects. But that made teachers to be ineffective. You can't be effective when you are handling 9 subjects. Never. You can't. And that's why maybe performance at primary school level has not been effective, because my teachers, our teachers, are overloaded with a lot of work.
But this was effective at some point. We produced the best engineers. We produced the best.
I agree with you. We produced the best engineers.
Things seem just to have fallen apart.
Even now, we are still producing engineers, but under very difficult conditions. Do you know the hurdles that these teachers go through? In each and every lesson, you must prepare a lesson plan. Maybe 12 lesson plans in a day.
Which they did 20 years ago.
They did 20 years ago, but the number of children that they were handling was small. This time you are handling 40 pupils 50 pupils in the class. And when do you mark the work for the children? When do you do remedial work? When do you do individual education program? So now we have come up with a policy now, a reform. There will be specialization at primary school at primary school level. A teacher for mathematics who is good in mathematics will be teaching mathematics in grade 5, in grade 6, and grade 7, one teacher. This teacher will be given enough time to prepare for the next class. This teacher will be given enough time to conduct what we call remedial work for the children who are not progressing well. This teacher will have enough time to interact with the child so that the child can catch up. Unlike what is today. My teachers are tired. We have allowed.
When does that take effect?
Second term. It is beginning. It does not require foreign exchange. It doesn't require any money. It's just a matter of manipulating the timetable and looking at what the teacher is good at. Simple. And I can assure you, if we take this route, the performance of our teachers and our children will be exceedingly better than before, because teachers will have a breathing space.
We should have more stability at Ministry of Education, but listening to you speak, it reminds me that Ministry of Education has been in experimental mode for a long time now.
It is not...
in terms of syllabus, in terms of changes, it's almost every year you are introducing new things. It's lessons in vernacular, it's agriculture compulsory, it's computers, ICT compulsory, it's geography, civics, history merged. You are continuously... There's no stability. Everything is changing. A lot of things are changing every year.
Yeah.
Or almost every 2 years.
Yeah. Education is dynamic. And it must respond to the emerging needs of our people. When we study the pattern of the world today, people have gone computer way. And as a ministry, we should not sit back and say we are going to live like our forefathers lived. We must respond to the emerging needs of our society. One writer said, it's only cowards who believe in not changing the ancestral conservatism. And he said, from what is going around now, we believe that we are wiser than our ancestors. And from what we are seeing beyond, our children will be more intelligent than ourselves. So as Minister of Education, we respond to the emerging needs of the generation. We don't have to sit behind when others are using computers.
Is there a systematic way of doing this?
The curriculum is an
impact.
answer.
The impact on the pupils is less, is more stable, more predictable?
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, the curriculum is defined as the bedrock of an education enterprise. So we have to put in place a curriculum that is responding to the needs of our people within the period in which we are. And we must be consistent as well. When the new practice comes in, we must go with it. But that does not stop us from changing in case we see the compelling need somewhere. That's the role of education. Education can never be static. It is dynamic. It has to change and respond to the needs of the people. But it is important that the men and women who are charged with the responsibility of managing the curriculum, they become consistent with the current practice. But when need arises, you have to shift the camp.
You've spoken on you reducing the burden on the part of the teachers, on the part of the learners.
Very good.
8, 9 subjects, 10 subjects.
Yes, I want to agree with you that we are going to move into another reform. Gravazia, here we are now. Before I come to that question, here is a pupil in grade 12. Mathematics, distinction. Biology, distinction. Chemistry, distinction. Physics, distinction. English language, 7. The university says you can't go into the university because you have a pass in English. Does this make sense to the system? It does not, because I was using English language to pass chemistry, biology, physics, and mathematics. Now, because I don't just get a merit in this language, which is not even ours, we can't allow somebody to go into the university. These are some of the programs that we need to revisit as quickly as possible, because we have killed many intellectuals in this country. Next, the number of subjects. Come on, why learning 9 subjects? Why learning 8 subjects? Why even 7? Why even 6? Because I want to ask you a question. You learned about Mississippi River yourself. You learned about the Atlas Mountain. How is it helping you in this job that you are doing today? There is absolutely no relevance. Name the deserts of Africa. Now, if I know the number of deaths in Africa, does it add anything to the education of our people? It doesn't. Prairies of Canada, steppes of Russia, pampas of Argentina. When you go to St. Lawrence Seaway, you take the boat this side. This kind of education must change. It does not respond to the needs of our people. No wonder we have stuck for so long a time.
You have a lot of work to do,
yes,
I should suppose.
I agree.
The standards of education have really fallen.
Yes, I agree with you. We must use every possible means.
Pupils can't read. Leakage is the order of the day.
The standard of education has fallen. Why has it fallen? It's not because of lack of money in the school. We go back again. Here is a school which is charging 7,000 kwacha, but the percentage of the passing rate is below expected standards. And that's why we must now invest in one form today. We must make sure that the teacher training, the kind of courses that the teachers take, the kind of training that our teachers go through is revisited. We must make sure that whoever is entering this noble profession is monitored extensively.
You're speaking about these policies so well, and probably even the money aspect very well. And I think you're making these decisions just for the poor, and probably not so much care about that. Would you take your child to public school?
I want to give a very good example of myself. My second-born son was taken to St. Francis Secondary School. I'm using the public media here. 2 boys were taken to Malole, a very good school. But because I had confidence in public institutions, I withdrew my boys from St. Francis Secondary School as Provincial Education Officer of Muchinga Province and took my boy to Kenneth Kaunda Secondary School, and one was at Mpika Boys Secondary School. And we put in a lot of measures at that level, and teaching and learning improved.
To improve Mpika Boys?
To improve as a standard for the whole province. And mind you, in that year, Muchinga Province emerged victorious. We were at #1, beating even Lusaka, which is well advantaged in those years. My friend, let me tell you, the teachers that we have today can perform beyond expectation. Take a teacher from one school which is well performing and take him to a mission school. This teacher starts performing exceedingly well. The problem that we have is not about the teacher, it's about the management at school level. Give me a qualified head teacher. Give me a passionate head teacher. Give me a man with a vision at school level. You don't need the PO, you don't need the director, you don't need the PS, you don't need the DEBS, you don't need an inspector. If you have quality leadership at school level,
committed teachers, committed management, I want you to assure the system that there'll be order at the ministry. There seems to be a lot of chaos. Some schools are overloaded, some schools are crying for teachers. You know of this, PS.
I know of this.
Some schools have 89 teachers in one school.
I agree with you.
Others have 42.
I agree with you.
Others have 32.
I totally agree with you.
And chaos. This is chaos. There's no better description than that.
I agree with you. And as a ministry, we have started a journey towards putting an end to this ugly picture in the ministry. And one step that we have taken is to decentralize the issue of transfers. It should only be the PO at that level to manage transfers. Down the line as we go, we are going to bring some other reformation as well. Why should we keep in a particular school 89 teachers while one school there is yearning for teachers? That is immoral. I don't like it. We have to take drastic measures, though painful as they may be. We are going to announce very, very soon how we are going to stabilize the staffing levels in our schools. Something must be done without pretense.
I'll ask you, we're running out of time, maybe 2 questions to end with. There's the mobile teaching services that you intend to introduce, and production unit.
Very good. Let me go to production unit. Why do we want to, in fact we have started. It was launched 3 weeks ago. We must begin now making our schools productive. Schools must not be buying cabbage. Schools shouldn't be buying vegetables, rather, tomato. No. Schools should keep chickens. Schools should grow maize. And this is taking place in colleges of education. For example, Marco Moffat, they're even producing mealie meal to sell to the general public. If we engage in production unity, we will be responding to the contents of the 7th National Development Plan. We should have a fish pond at one school. Gravazo, look at the at State House. I get amazed. After 4 months, they harvest fish. And then, if we have a fish pond in each and every school of 10,000, I know in some school, in some areas, there's no water, but
there's no space even in some schools.
No space is found everywhere. So 10,000 schools multiplied by a fish pond. How many fish ponds are we going to have as a country? We'll be creating a lake somewhere. An example again, if we plant only one orange plant in one school, 1 multiplied by 10,000 schools, 10,000 plants of oranges, which a school can manage. Let's go for 2 oranges, 2 plants, 3, 5 plants, 5 multiplied by 10,000 orange plants. We will have a huge plantation in this country, and we will no longer import oranges from Durban, because from education itself we can feed the whole nation, and we are moving in that direction as Ministry of Education. Production unity must be real. Goats must be kept, fish ponds must be dug, oranges must be planted. And any head teacher, any DEBs, any PO who will not champion this direction, we can assure them that we won't cooperate. We won't cooperate, because we know this is a sustainable way of improving the lives in the schools. This is the only way by which we can cut and reduce further the cost of managing our schools if we venture into production unit.
You've worked in rural areas for much of your life. One question again. What are you doing for the rural teacher? No accommodation, no incentives.
One of the greatest incentive that we give a teacher is a salary. To those who have no accommodation, government provides housing allowance. You know, to us who have been in the system for some time, Gravazo, it pays to appreciate what government is doing. When we were teachers in those years, our friends left this country to go to Botswana for only 2 reasons: to buy a car, a Toyota, and also build a house. We were wearing plastic shoes in those years. But today, when I'm addressing the teachers, I see a lot of vehicles littered everywhere. Then I ask them a question: who is the owner? Who are the owners of these vehicles? They say, it's us. And they're coming from rural areas. Government has provided an opportunity to the men and women in the teaching service. At least this time, sanity has come back. You can go to the bank and get a loan, because the banks know that you have the capacity to pay back. That is an incentive. That is an incentive. Today, we are better than the way we were in some old days. I'm speaking from experience. Maybe to the young ones.
Ministers will ask you that in other ministries, we are seeing the head of state commissioning houses, not in the Ministry of Education, not so much there.
Very good. You know, every long journey starts with the first step. If you can remember, a few weeks ago, I was on the Copper Belt in the company of Chela from State House when he was monitoring this infrastructure that HE went to commission. I was part of the delegation. And you see, we want also to take another step, because government has demonstrated something that is very, very excellent to the policemen and women. It's beautiful. Now it is upon ourselves as Ministry of Education to interact with the relevant ministries, especially Home Affairs, to learn the steps that they took in order to arrive at that stage. What a wonderful day it will be in Nawalia, where 5 houses of that nature are built in a particular area by AVIC International. And if we can look at an alternative way, the teachers in those areas will begin getting housing allowance. And that housing allowance can be paid to the contractor of those structures, and teachers are going to agree so that they can live in decent accommodation. It's one area that we are going to
one area you're exploring. P.S.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
God bless you too. Thank you.
That's all we have for you this evening. Our guest was Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of General Education, Dr. Jobbicks Kalumba. I'll be back next week sometime. Pleasant viewing.